You were a tad late to your meeting with Blue Diamond, as you were picking up something for her that you had planned to bring with you that day. You were half expecting her to be awaiting your arrival with either a look of disapproval for your tardiness, or with that big bright grin that seemed to be present more often nowadays than it used to. But she didn't. Instead, Blue Diamond stared off towards the horizon, seemingly admiring the glimmering light that reflected off the distant sea. She was obviously lost in thought, as she had failed to notice you approaching her from behind. Then, she began to speak, softly to herself. I wonder, would it even matter if I went this cycle? Am I not allowed to see you anymore because I've sworn to move on? Would it be wrong if I wanted to go and visit you? Her words caught you off guard. There was someone she wanted to go and see today? Someone she swore to move on from? Now you were curious and, admittedly, a tad bit jealous. Who was she talking about? What was their relationship with Blue? Were they a gem like her, or another human like yourself? Your curiosity grew stronger with every millisecond the questions festered in your mind, and before you could stop yourself, you took a step forward and called out the Blue Gem's name. Blue gasped in surprise. Being shaken out of her thoughts, she turned her head to see you. She breathed a sigh of relief, however, as you walked through the brush to stand beside her. She couldn't help but smile immediately upon your arrival. Ah, human, you're here! Come, come! She beckoned you with an eager motion of her hand, excited to begin the day anew with another lesson in earthly culture. Even though the lessons were mostly just you and Blue hanging out. You apologized for being late, telling her you had urgent matters to attend to first before meeting up with her. Do not worry, little one. I do not mind it if you are a little late. So far you have proven to be quite the teacher of earthly culture. And you are quite the charmer amongst your species, so I will allow you to be tardy for our meetings every now and again. Now tell me, what have you prepared for today's lesson in human culture? You were going to say that you had planned a small picnic for the two of you, hence why you were gone for so long. But then her words from just seconds prior flooded into your mind. She clearly had something else going on, something that seemed to be important to her. As much as you wanted her to stay here with you, you couldn't just force her to do that. Sighing, you asked her if there was something that she would like to do instead. Your words caught her off guard for a moment, as she thinks to herself, trying to decide what to say. It was not every day that Blue Diamond was rendered speechless, or had to take a moment to think about something. Usually she was quick to voice her thoughts and wishes, so this must be important to her if she's taking so long to respond. Well, actually, there is something I would like to do, or rather, some place I'd like to go. I've been apprehensive of whether or not I should go, though. You see, today is the anniversary of Pink's passing, in a way. Today was the day where she was shattered, or rather, faked her shattering. It's odd, I know. I should no longer feel grieved on this day now knowing the truth, but for some reason it still saddens me so. Today was the mark of the end of Pink Diamond, and the beginning of the end for her. I used to visit the site of her shattering every cycle, or year in your case, as sort of a tribute to her. And I had thought about going there today, even though I know she wasn't really shattered there. But I feel like going today will bring me some peace of mind. Would it be alright if we went there today? You felt guilty, embarrassed, and most of all stupid, realizing you got jealous over nothing. But you also felt sympathy for the diamond, wondering how long she's felt like this. You can't bring yourself to say no to her, especially when she's making such a sad face. So you agreed to go with her, watching with a smile as her melancholic expression brightened. Really? Thank you, human. Let us depart right away. Unfortunately, there aren't any warp pads nearby where we're going, so we'll have to use my alm ship instead. Her... what? You have no idea what happened. 1 minute you were with Blue at your usual meeting place. Next thing you knew, you were riding inside a giant spaceship shaped like an arm, riding towards what you could only assume was South Korea, judging by the sights and scenery. 30 minutes was all it took to get from point A to point B in Blue's ship. And she somehow managed to show you the entirety of her ship, in great detail, within such a short period of time. She seemed rather pleased the entire time. She showed you around her ship, and showed you how everything functioned without you needing to ask how certain things operated. You had to admit that seeing the gem woman's smile managed to bring one to your face as well. It filled you with a warmth at the mere sight of her forming that sweet, perfect smile. Wait, what? When had you begun to feel this? You asked yourself. This feeling wasn't unfamiliar, you knew what it was. What it entailed. But why? Why were you feeling like this? You couldn't feel like this. She was an alien. Not just that, she was an alien dictator. Sure, you guys might be friends now, but does she even know what that means? Does she truly see you as anything more than a human or a teacher? Does she even know what love is? And even if she does, would she feel the same way about you? Well, here, little one. You were pulled from your thoughts by said gem, looking up to meet Blue's eager gaze as she leaned down to pick you up. Pardon my enthusiasm, human. I'm just excited. And it will be much faster if I carry you off the ship, instead of letting you walk on your own. With that, she exited the ship with you seated in her hand. The sunlight hitting the ship's exit, blinding you for a moment as the two of you stepped off the ship. Looking around, the place Blue took you was similar to your meeting spot back home, except instead of a cliffside overlooking the ocean, this place was a cliffside overlooking a sea of trees that stretched as far as the eye could see, only blocked off by large mountains in the distance. It looked beautiful, a great change of pace from your simple home by the sea. Your attention was ripped away from the lovely scenery by Blue lowering you to the ground. This is it. The place where it all happened. The place I would often visit to mourn her absence. What I always considered to be her final resting place. Pink Diamond's palanquin. Blue sat down beside you, her eyes growing sad as she gazed at the structure. You followed suit and sat down on the ground, gazing up at the foreign object. The huge pink palanquin was broken down, obviously dilapidated by time and covered in the overgrowth of nature surrounding it. After a few seconds of silence, Blue finally spoke. It's odd. It feels like it's been forever since I last came here. The last time I came here was just before the dawn of Era 3, when everything changed for the better for both humans, gems, and all other life forms across the galaxy. You wouldn't quite understand it, human, but so much has changed since Era 3 began. Homeworld has changed. Yellow and white have changed. I've changed. Until now, I never would have even considered the idea of coming to this planet for any other reason other than to grieve the loss of Pink. Back then, I despised this planet more than anything. I believed it was the source of my suffering. But now look at me. I've been living on Earth, I've been reading books, I've been eating food, I've even tried sleeping and dreaming, all like a human would. Like Pink would. Blue Diamond's words trailed off for a moment, a soft sigh falling from her lips before she continued. This must be how Pink felt when she first came to this planet. When she discovered how beautiful and bright this world truly was. She'd be so happy to hear me say that, if she were still here. She'd be absolutely starstruck to know that she finally got me to understand her. I wish I could have realized it sooner, before she left us. You heard her sniffle under her breath, looking up to see her starting to cry. You frantically asked Blue if she was okay, feeling your heart break at the sight of her crying. She turned to look at you and shook her head, trying to wipe the tears from her eyes upon seeing the worry in yours, but failing miserably in her attempts. I'm sorry, human. I thought I would be ready for this. To move on. But it seems I can't seem to stop weeping over her. You weren't sure what to do. As much as you wanted to help her, you knew that your words couldn't stop her tears. You knew just as much as the next guy that grief, especially grief stemming from a dead loved one, was something that wouldn't just disappear with mere words. You could go through every stage of grief and still cry over someone you love being gone. But looking at her tear-stained face, you felt a desperate need to try and help her. Somehow. To say or do something. Anything. Before you had time to reconsider, you moved closer to the giantess and awkwardly wrapped your arms around her wrist. You felt her flinch slightly as she turned to you in confusion. Human, what are you doing? You don't have to do that. I don't need pity for something like this. You told her that you wanted to do this, and that it wasn't out of pity. She was hurting, and the one thing that she needs right now is to know that she's not alone, and that as her friend, you care about her. She didn't say anything. She merely stayed silent for a moment. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was so quiet you almost didn't catch what she had said next. Is it alright if I try something, human? You didn't know what Blue was planning, but nonetheless, you agreed. Suddenly, her gem began to glow, and with that, the rest of her body. Was she shape-shifting? Why did she decide to do that? She changed her height to the height that she had when you two danced that one night. And before you could ask her why, she immediately pulled you towards her and wrapped her arms around your shorter figure in an embrace. She was hugging you? She did this so she could properly hug you? You could feel your face burn at the sudden gesture, as no words escaped your lips. All you could manage to do was move your arms to hold her in return. You heard her breathe a sigh of relief, before speaking again, her voice slightly muffled by your shoulder. It's so odd. Out of all of the things on this planet, the one thing I never expected to care about the most was you. You've allowed me to experience the world in ways I never thought possible. Life on Earth is vastly different than life on Homeworld. It has been nothing but peaceful, accepting, free. For the very first time, I felt pure, genuine happiness. Something I never quite knew back on Homeworld. This feeling is something that no time I've ever spent with Yellow, White, or Spinel, or even my new ability to turn my tears of grief into joyful clouds could have ever given me. I truly believe I can be happier here on Earth. That I will always remain happy if I'm with you. You could feel your heartbeat increase with every word spoken by your gem companion. You didn't want to get your hopes up, and yet something told you deep down in your gut, in your heart, that this was going exactly where you had hoped it would go. Blue continued to speak. I don't understand. why I'm feeling like this. Why do I feel so at peace whenever I'm with you? I've been having such strange feelings right here in my chest, complicated emotions every time you do and say kind things to me. I think that there's something wrong with my gem. I feel like I'm being hit with a stabilizer. Everything aches, but it doesn't at the same time. I just don't understand what's happening to me. You were left speechless by Blue's words. Your mind was just blown. Was she implying what you think she's implying? Could it be that Blue shares the same feelings as you? If she does, what are you supposed to do? Do you tell her? And what if you're wrong and she doesn't love you? Or what if you're right and she does? What then? What will become of both of you then? Do gems feel love? Can they comprehend love and relationships? Aren't gems pretty much immortal? How could a relationship between you and her even work? A million questions roll through your mind at hyperspeed. And frankly, you've not a single answer for any of them. Human? Blue's voice trails off, her voice and fingers shaking as she tightly grasps the fabric of your shirt. She shifts her position so she can make eye contact with you, her beautiful blue eyes meeting yours, causing your body to freeze up. You could feel your heart beating so loudly in your chest, you were certain that Blue could hear it. Human, please help me. I don't know what's happening. I don't want to break from this feeling. You could hear her voice break from fear, and it broke your heart to see her in such a state. It was then you realized you had to make a choice. You had to tell her. Even if you're not correct, even if she doesn't feel the same, even if things don't work out, you have to tell her. Gulping, you tell her that you think you know what that strange feeling is supposed to be. Her eyes go wide with surprise and slight panic as she asks you to tell her what that feeling could be. You take a deep breath, look her in the eyes one more time, and tell her, I think what you're feeling is love. She blinks in confusion and surprise, obviously not expecting that as a response. You try to steady your breathing and rapid heartbeat as you continue to speak, and not the kind of love you feel towards your gem people, or your nephew Steven, or even your diamond sisters. This kind of love is different. I think you might be in love with me. Are you sure, human, that what I'm feeling is love? Blue's voice was quiet, as if she was hesitating to even speak. She buried her face into your shoulder once more. All was silent save for your rapid heartbeat pounding still in your ears. Before you could say anything, she continued. I just don't know what to say about this. I mean, I've never felt this sort of love before. Contrary to popular belief, gems can feel love and attraction. It was just frowned upon during the days of Era 1 and Era 2. But now that we've entered the days of Era 3, things have changed. But those types of emotions are more common for other gems, but a diamond... Why, it sounds so absurd. No diamond has ever... Wait. No, Pink felt that way. She fell in love with a human. That human that helped make Steven. And maybe she's loved other humans, too, in the thousands of years she's lived on Earth. She paused, and looked up once more to meet your gaze, her mournful eyes filled with such pain it tore you up inside. But if I did feel that way, if I did love you like you say, would this even work out? Humans have such a short lifespan compared to gems. Someday you will perish. For you it will have been during the old and grey stages of your life. As for me, it will be as though not a day has passed since now. But if we decide to do this, every day that passes after you're gone will feel like an eternity spent in pure, agonizing heartache and grief. Dare I say, I wouldn't be able to consider the thought of recovery after you're gone. Not like I was finally able to do with Pink. It took me thousands of years to try and finally be okay again, but with you, there would be no trying. It would feel as though the space in my chest that was made for you would shatter completely. Blue's words had managed to bring tears to your eyes. You didn't know what to say. She felt this strongly for you? How long has she felt like this? And what if she was right? Was pursuing a relationship between you, a human, and an immortal alien being truly worth the pain and suffering it was bound to cause you both down the line? Was this truly worth all the tears that would be shed from frustration and grief? Would your love be strong enough to conquer such bounds? As the questions toiled in your mind, the answer became more and more clear, and before you knew it, you found the words you wanted to speak. Taking Blue's hands in yours, and with a deep breath you say, "Things are never going to be easy for us if we do this. But for the first time in my life, I am willing to take the risk. Meeting you was the weirdest yet most exhilarating and wonderful experience of my life. Before I met you, everything in my life seemed to be going wrong. And the day that we met, I had planned to take my life by jumping off a cliff." You heard Blue gasp in realization of your true intentions on that day, the day that you met, the day that she saved you. But then you came along and saved me. And even though us staying together started as a job to repay you, we both began to have fun. I started to have fun being with you. I finally started to feel happy, and on that night where we danced, having you so close to me made me realize how much I loved you, how much I wanted things to stay as they are, with us being together like this, for as long as we can be. I love you, Blue, and if you'll let me, if you want this, I would gladly spend the rest of my life with you, whether back on your home planet or here on Earth. Blue had begun to sob with your final words. She did not expect such a heartfelt response from you. But the one thing that stood out to her was your own proclamation of love. You loved her. You loved her and wanted to stay with her and be with her. Sniffling, she gazed happily into your eyes, her tears turned into little heart-shaped clouds as they left her eyes. I feel the same. I feel the same way. I don't know what will happen. I don't know what the future holds, and I don't fully grasp the meaning of these feelings I bear, but as long as I can continue to hold you like this and hear your voice, then I know everything will turn out just fine. You smile happily as you pull her closer to you, holding her tightly in your arms as she returns the sentiment, wrapping hers around you, giggling in pure bliss. And from there, as you both embraced before the late Pink Diamond's memorial, Blue finally felt as though she could let go of the past and its wounds, and fully embrace the future. And somehow the Blue Gem knew that if Pink could see her now, she'd be smiling at how far her diamond sister has come, and how happy she finally is.